my always dearest girl. I want to write and let you know how much in a very short period of time that I've known you, I love you.
My always dearest love, I have much hope that we will find each other wherever we may land. Kisses. Ina.
I'm writing with a pencil stub. Darling, try to steal a pencil for me somewhere. Much, much love. Jaap.
I'm a very special Holocaust survivor. I was in a camp with my wife and my girlfriend, and believe me, that was not easy.
I did this for 3 bar mitzvahs, 4 weddings, 75th birthday, 80th birthday, 85th birthday, 90th birthday, and 40th anniversary, 50th anniversary, 60th anniversary. That's today.
Gezellig in zo'n klein hokje.
These books should be on the dining table.
Okay.
These are all pictures of us, of all the years, you know, in this.
Okay.
Okay? 16 years of marriage.
Congratulations.
Beautiful pictures in this. This is a nice picture too.
Ich habe es bei Tag den Blumen erzählt, ich liebe dich. Ich habe es bei Nacht den Sternen erzählt, ich liebe dich. Ich singe es hinaus in der Welt, dass einer mir nur noch gefällt. Das bist du, nur du. Und höre ich Musik, dann singt jeder Ton, ich liebe dich. Die Spatzen am Dach, die pfeifen es schon, ich liebe dich. Mein Herz ist von Sehnsucht erfüllt, in Traumen erscheint mir ein Bild. Das bist du, nur du. Weißt du noch?
This was really the lower middle class Jewish community. Hier hebben wij gewoond in de tweede etage. There we had about 4 or 5 rooms. My father and mother, the street children, was all in cramped quarters really. We were poor and we were not poor. My father, an unbelievable, interesting, wonderful man. He was able to show us really that one can live without money in a wonderful way. The Friday evenings were very special. The prayers were nice, the singing was nice, but before we started, he always gave us a bench, a special prayer, a wonderful blessing, and the fact that even my first wife, who I had my problems with, still remembered after the war and many times said, the most beautiful time of my life was when your father gave me Friday night a blessing.
This is the house I lived in from 1937 till 1943, till we had to leave it. My father was a diamond manufacturer. He had a polishing plant. I would say the second largest in Amsterdam. So he went to the factory every day. He never went on Saturday, we were Orthodox. When he had a car, he had a chauffeur. We always had 2 maids. And then, of course, once a week, a cleaning lady to clean what wasn't dirty. My mother was always busy in the house. I always asked her, what do you do all day? And she says, tidying up. I have a lot of happy memories, and I'm happy when I see the house. But then you think of all the things that happened in the end, and that puts quite a damper on it all, yeah. May 10th, 1940. And we heard planes flying over, and we heard shooting. And we just knew we had been invaded. I was young, I was 17. I guess a person who's 17 doesn't worry as much and doesn't project as much what's going to happen. The Dutch army held out for 5 days. And on the 5th day, they bombed Rotterdam. They just annihilated the whole center of the city. And they said, if you don't surrender now, it will be the same tomorrow in Amsterdam.
Landgenoten.
The most important moment at that moment was the leaving of the Queen. I remember crying when the Queen on the radio gave a special speech and said, we will take care of you from London, but at this moment it is most prudent to leave.
I have had criticism of the Queen. Queen Wilhelmina, the mother of your country, and people adored the Queen. She was something phenomenal. I have no good word to say about that.
Her leaving was really the beginning of the end, but we didn't know that how bad it was going to be.
Things started to happen. You couldn't drive a car anymore. You had to hand in your bicycles. You had to hand in your radios. And then you had to hand in all your valuables.
We really didn't have the feeling that our lives were in danger. With every measure you thought you could live with it. You were only allowed to do shopping between 4 and 6. So you would go only shopping between 4 and 6. Teachers are not allowed to teach anymore at the universities and schools, so they were teaching at the Jewish schools. I remember the first year we went still. The second year we couldn't go to the seashore anymore. And still we came together and celebrated birthdays.
June 6, 1943. I was going to a birthday party of a friend of mine. And I walk in there and I get introduced to this wonderful couple. And I said hello, and the only thing that went through my mind was, they don't belong together at all.
Manja happened to be a wonderful woman if she was good, and she was an impossible woman. Many times she stopped talking to me for a week, and after a week suddenly she was the most charming woman you can think of.
She had beautiful, curly, orangey blonde hair. If you took her, the parts apart, she wasn't that beautiful. She didn't have a good nose, she didn't have good eyes, but the whole package was just something unusual.
Manja was really not marriage material. In 1941, I told Manja, I said, this can't go on. Let's stay together for the war. She said, no, I agree with you. Let's just divorce after the war.
She was sitting on the lap. That's really when I said they don't belong together, of the father of the birthday boy. And who obviously was flirting back, who liked her. All men liked Manja.
I will never forget coming in that room and seeing a beautiful girl sitting there. And I said, my God, I wish I was married to that girl. I will never forget it. And then I started talking to her while Manja was flirting with everybody. I remember I spoke all the time to that wonderful girl, Ina Soep. She was very well-to-do, and I was basically poor. And the difference between rich and poor people was great. But I said, it's a passing thing, I will never see that.
Das deutsche Haupt- und In the beginning, when Hitler started his terrible radio talks, blurring out that the Jews are the rest of the world and he would kill them all, I believed it. I said, this man is going to do it. And all the other people said, no, don't take it so seriously. I was the only one in the family who went into hiding because I said, I can only fight the Germans or survive if I will take on a new identity and not let them know that I'm Jewish or have anything to do with the Jews. In the beginning, it was not that easy to get into the resistance for Jews. They needed Philip, my husband, about arms, how to fight the Germans.
I wanted to go into hiding, and I had a lot of friends, Gentile and Jewish, who were in the resistance. They were perfectly willing to help me and place me someplace.
We falsified identity cards, which is actually an art. You have to be an artist because it's so complicated.
We went together to a photographer to have
beautiful picture. I just saw
pictures made for false papers. But my father got wind of it and he said, "You're not going. You can't go. If they come to arrest us, 4 people, and there are only 3, then we will have to carry the consequences. And you can't do that to us. That's not fair.
They will take
and I feel that I can protect you." He didn't quite understand, I think, that with the Germans there was a whole other deal. My father was a member of the Jewish Council, which gave, up to a certain point, certain privileges.
The poor people were sent away first, and then the middle class, and then the rich people. So the difference between rich and poor had never come out more horrible than in these years. Every night, the Germans were raiding homes, knocking on doors and say, "Are the Jews living here?" I remember going to the bathroom 10, 15 times every night. So nervous I was.
I only went out after 8, and one of those evenings I decided to go to the house where Jack and Manja were living to try to get him to go into hiding. I had my contacts, I could take care of that. But when I called at their door, it was after 8, there they were staying petrified, faces in great fear, because it could only be the Germans who were calling after 8 o'clock. But I couldn't convince them that the Germans would kill.
I was still an accountant, and I had clients. I had appointments the next day with Jewish clients who I helped to hide assets for the Germans. So I felt also a tremendous amount of responsibility. 100 passes to use the streetcars were given, and I was one of the 100. I really thought I was an important man. I was an important man for a period.
I knew you were not. My brother said, "We are strong and we are young. We will have a very hard time, but we will survive." So I was leaving the house like someone who was already losing the best part of the family.
My father was an accountant, and we had an office together. The Germans stormed in. I say, "Everybody out." Every Jewish one stormed out. And they were taking us all walking through Amsterdam. For a German, a Jew was like an animal. When we came to a square, they took out of the 400 10 people, and I was one of the 10. They put us against the wall, and then 10 Germans came with their guns drawn. And the Jew says, "When his death comes." And I really saw at that moment that my time had come. And they did not kill me, they were shooting in the air. All the Germans, they were laughing their heads off. And a kick in my back, and I was allowed to leave. But it gave me a tremendous amount of willpower to say, if I can survive this, maybe I have a chance.
Both our neighbors tried to commit suicide. This was an elderly couple, put on the gas. And I remember looking out the window. They had brought them outside. They were lying on the grass, and they survived. On this side, at number 18, lived a young couple. He and his wife and a 2-year-old daughter committed suicide and succeeded. My brother Benno was taken in a reprisal raid. Eventually, they sent him to the notorious camp Mauthausen. The Germans kept on promising my father that they would get him out. And every time they said, well, probably tomorrow he'll be back. And I remember my sister-in-law walking over to the bridge there to see him come. Of course, it never happened.
After all the measures were taken, the Germans said, now we are going to make a major measure. The major measure was the so-called deportation. It's more or less said, we are going to take you to a labor camp. You are taking along all necessities you have, small things you can take along, and suddenly everybody was packing. You had to leave your entire home with all the furniture, with your records, with your books, with everything.
The next day, a Pulse moving truck would pull up in front of the house, and they would empty the house, and all the furniture would go to Germany.
Westerbork was originally created by the Dutch government. When German Jews came to Holland, we tried to put them with families. But after a period, so many came, we did something we should not have done. We created that Camp Westerbork before the war. Those German Jews were in charge when we came into Westerbork. They used their might in every way. Basically, they get back to us for the unfair treatment we gave them. I even can't blame them for that.
We got there in the evening, and we were put in a registration hall. And then in the middle of the night, they told everybody, you go to this barrack, you go to that barrack.
I found out where the Soup family is coming in. I said, I would like to meet that girl.
So Jack went to this housing authority and said, can you see to it that I get into barrack 64? The three of us were in the same barrack, Jack, his wife Manja, and me. I could see Manja's bed and Manja could see my bed. We were both on the third tier. I don't remember exactly our first meeting there, but he must have said something like, remember we met at that birthday, and that's how it started. Usually in the evening we would go out for a walk on the so-called Boulevard de Bizerte. It was pitch dark, so it was very private, and we wouldn't be the only ones. There were other couples that were walking there. Till curfew, there would be a siren, and you know you had like 5 minutes to get back.
Westerbork was unique. There was no camp like Westerbork in Europe. We had a sporting ground. We had some soccer matches there. We had a hospital. Every father and mother had to work, so we had to do something with the children. So we gave them a normal school. And I was lucky, I was a good organizer, and that way I got the job of being the principal of a school. This was all part of the make-believe that Westerbork was not bad and the next camp would be another Westerbork. And I would say 90% of the people in Westerbork believed that. Door een bos naar het kamp gekomen ben.
The trees don't look too old at all.
They don't look as old as I am.
Waar was de boulevard de Bizet?
Deze.
Ja.
Deze.
Oh, daar. Ja.
Hier zijn we bij ons.
En wat was het sportterrein ook?
Dat was ook het sportterrein.
Sportterrein,
Ja.
That's where I run my 1500 meters.
And you won, huh?
No. 6 tournaments I won.
Strange.
Strange.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there
Very
we
strange.
were, and
Very
how
strange.
is it possible that we really were there? He won my heart by sheer persistence, I would say.
We are starting to fall in love. I felt that right away. We couldn't see each other too much in the barracks itself. I think we really met always walking.
We were holding hands or arms around each other, and there was a certain amount of necking and, whenever that was possible. But that's about the extent of the lovey-dovey part.
Ja. Ik kan nog meer doen.
Yeah. We tried to keep it secret. I didn't want my parents to know. My father never approved of my boyfriends, and I knew he would certainly not approve of this. And I certainly didn't want to do any offensive things toward Manya.
אני אהבתי מאוד את מניה. היא הייתה מאוד נחמדה, גם כן אליי. אחרי המלחמה, כשביקרתי את מניה, שאלתי אותה פעם, מניה, למה התחתנת עם יאב? היא אמרה, אני אגיד לך את האמת, אני אהבתי כל כך את האבא שלך, שאני לא רציתי לצער אותו. ואני חשבתי לו, אני לא אפרד מעכשיו בזמן הקשה הזה ליאב.
The moment it became really serious and people told Manya about it, Manya said, what is going on? Yeah, I don't want you to have a relationship.
She would forbid Jaap to see me. And that's how the letter writing started.
Dear sweetheart, just a few words in great haste.
You are in bed, I'm in my office. And the worst is that Manya's in her bed watching your bed with Argus eyes. If there's anything wrong in our relationship, it is that you are afraid that due to my unfortunate marriage with Manya, I was driven into the arms of the very first girl I saw was available. Don't be afraid of this, please, because I want to call you my wife since I feel more of a similarity in character with you in a few weeks than in the 7 years that I've known Manya. The first whistle is not blowing. So if I stop now, I will be asleep by the second whistle. Sleep sweetly and well. Much, much love. Jaap.
I always told him that I had this boyfriend since I was 12 years old, that I was crazy about, who had been also caught in a raid before the deportation started, in a door-to-door raid in 1942. I had no idea, of course, if he would or not come back, although my hopes and my thoughts were, well, he'll, if anybody makes it, a young guy will make it. And I always told Jaap, if he comes back and you come back, and I put the two in front of me, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have to choose. And in my mind, I always thought the fair thing to do is to choose Rudy.
She told me many things about him, and she also told me that as long as I don't know where he is, and if he comes back, he is my first choice. Not knowing that he had died already a long time ago, because he died shortly after he was taken to Auschwitz.
The one thing that I really regret is that when in 1941, the best friends of Rudy's parents were leaving Holland to go to America. And they were very fond of Rudy, and they asked his parents, could they please take him along? But we were so against it, of course. He didn't want to leave me, I didn't want to leave him. We just fought it and said, no, can't do it. And of course, if I had done it, he would have gone to the States and probably would have survived. I really think about him often. He was actually such a large part of my teenage years. So it stirs emotions always. Actually the same as my brother. I just use these two people for everybody else.
To tell you about the Holocaust is very difficult, because I don't understand it. And if I don't understand it, how can those wonderful teachers who are teaching the Holocaust make you understand it? We were very lucky. You know why I was lucky? We went to a concentration camp. We did not go to an extermination camp. But when I look at children, I always can cry. Because then I remember my children in Westerbork, children like you, who we gave a wonderful education. And every week a train left. Westerbork, Auschwitz, Auschwitz, Westerbork. And the children did not know. They thought they were going to another camp, and they all were killed.
They needed every week 2,000 people to be sent to the East. And they didn't really care who they were, as long as they had 2,000 bodies to go. So every Tuesday morning, a train left at 6 o'clock. The main purpose of everybody's life in Westerbork was to stay out of next Tuesday's transport.
You lived only 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday. On Thursday, you started to tremble. On Friday, you were told you have to leave on Tuesday. On Saturday, you tried to get out of it. On Sunday, you were told you can't get out of it. And on Monday, you started to pack. Oh, you packed a lot of underwear, a lot of good clothes, and a lot of ties. Yes, you were going to a labor camp.
And on Monday night at midnight, they would come in and read the list in every barrack, people who had to go.
It was usually in the middle of the night, and the minute people's names were called, there was screaming and crying. It was all in alphabetical order, so if your name was skipped, the relief that people felt, because they could stay 1 week longer.
I will never forget one Monday night. Suddenly my name.
Polak Jakob.
Polak Jacob. I said, oh my God. And then they gave another date, birthday. I know the man who had my same name, but only had another birthday.
The German Jews, they ran all this. The camp commander would only come as the train was leaving, practically, to take a look. But these people ran it. And some of them, it's an awful thing to say, but some of them behaved as bad as if they were the Nazis, really.
Many times they needed me to help people to putting them in the cattle cars. The young people, you said goodbye, and we will see you again, and I hope you don't have to work too hard. When you see old people, and I brought people of 70, 80, and 90 to the cattle car, that, my God, what are the Germans going to do with people of 90 years and over? When my parents were on the list, we didn't know what was going to happen to them. The only thing I was afraid of them, that they had to work too hard. They had their best clothes on. I said to my father, your shoes aren't strong enough. You're going to a labor camp. Why don't you take my shoes? I brought them to the train. And I put them in the cattle car, like I put everybody in the cattle car. And still, I did not have that feeling, this is it, goodbye. I had no knowledge at all that they were going to be killed. And 2 days later, my father and mother were gas in Sobibor.
Remarkably, the cabaret would be always Tuesday nights.
Ik zing mijn Westerbork serenade. Langs het sporenbandje schijnt het zilvermaantje op de hei.
It wasn't so easy to get in. You had to have connections. There were some people that said I would never go there. Here we're in this camp, and who wants entertainment, and it's all done for the indulgence of the Germans. The commander just loved it, and I think it kept these people for a long time in the camps. Of course, in the end, no more cabaret and no more people.
Friday, December 3rd, 1943. This afternoon I enjoyed listening to Beethoven's Kreutzer Sonata, played by Dr. Weiss and Polak. So very beautiful. My thoughts were, as always, but especially when I hear music, with you. I want to write and let you know how much in a very short period of time that I've known you, I love you. I feel when I'm with you, and crazily enough when I'm not with you, a sense of peace that I've never really known with any other girl. I have the feeling that we completely understand each other, even when we don't speak a word. Know above all that in my mind I hold a vision of an ideal marriage, in which man and wife share a mutual goal, in which each complements and supports the other. We must often go and hear good music. We must go and see good theater, and in exactly this way grow closer to each other. Good night, sweet girl of mine. Many, many kisses. Jaap.
I used my sister, Josette, as the messenger of love. She would hand my letters to Jaap and vice versa.
Jij was op school.
Ja, als jullie Joodse kindertjes waren geweest in 1942, was hier terecht gekomen, dan had je daar naar school gegaan. En hij was je hoofd geweest.
Allemaal jonge kinderen eigenlijk. Ik was het hoofd van de school hier in Westerbork, 63 jaar geleden.
Wat deden die kinderen hier? Wat moesten ze doen de hele dag?
We hadden van een fantastische school. Ik had fantastische leraren, professoren. En iedere week kwamen er kinderen en kinderen en kinderen. Alleen maar omdat ze Jood waren. We hadden een Joodse ster en alleen maar de Joden werden opgepakt. Je kan spreken over nummers en nummers van de oorlog. Maar als je daarna denkt dat 1,5 miljoen kinderen vermoord zijn, dat is eigenlijk het ergste. Jullie moeten allemaal beseffen dat jullie ongelooflijk gelukkig zijn.
Ja.
Je leeft in een normal niet helemaal normale wereld. Waar een heleboel dingen in gebeuren. Maar je kan plezier hebben en je kan eten. En je kan alle normale dingen in het leven doen. En alle kinderen die hier op school, van mijn school gingen, konden dat niet doen. Nou, meestal van u hebben waarschijnlijk Dario en Frank gelezen. Het is het meest gelezen boek in de wereld na de Bijbel. Ik kan jullie allemaal vertellen dat de Dario en Frank, wat translated in English, can be a guideline in your life.
Hoe oud was u toen u 35
Toen was
kilo woog?
ik ben nu 93. I feel young again to be able to talk to young children.
Bent u zelf ook Joods?
Ja,
Ja.
goed,
Zie je
goed.
dat goed? Dit is nou een meneer
Goed,
die echt Joods is.
Huh?
Kun je het verschil zien met mij?
Nee, er is geen
Nee?
verschil.
Er is geen verschil, hè? Maar het is wel zo.
Er is geen verschil. Nee, een van de dingen die ik alle kinderen meteen zeg, en ik zeg het nog eens, don't discrimineer. Er is geen verschil tussen Jood of een niet-Jood. Er is geen verschil tussen een witte man of een zwarte man. We zijn allemaal geboren op dezelfde manier en we zullen allemaal sterven op dezelfde manier. Om een betere wereld te krijgen moet je proberen vrede te kunnen vinden. En vrede te maken wat heel moeilijk is in een wereld die zoveel oorlog ziet. Ik heb genoeg gezegd. Oké. Mooi zwaar moeten nemen.
My dear, dear Ineke. Considering the circumstances, Manya will give us a hard time, and we won't be able to take walks, perhaps having a little or no chance for close contact. You must not let this discourage you. We must find strength in the knowledge that there is someone here who makes life worth living. Maybe you can adapt a piece of my philosophy in life, that in everything, even in the gloomiest things, you must look for the sunny side. And even if you can't find any sunshine, you must look into the future, in which ultimately for both of us, happiness lies.
What probably kept me going from his letters is his wisdom, because of being 10 years older and being much more experienced in life than I was. And his nature, his optimistic, upbeat nature, which always tried to lift me up if I was down. Jaap's presence and his feelings for me was a big help to me.
The day before the transport is always somewhat nerve-wracking. I must admit that this is slowly beginning to get to me here. Mostly because you never know what to expect from one day to the next. Dear Ineke, it's now 11 a.m. and after this unnerving transport with my mother-in-law. She was very strong, and so were Manya and her sister. I must tell you very frankly that it was as bad for me as when other loved ones of mine went. Every departure gets us down. But now this transport is over, and as things are, we must go on. You must look at it in the same way I look at our imminent departure. That if 100,000 Jews from the Netherlands have already had to bear this, then why not us? Especially since we're young, if I can include myself with the bald head. I really hope that now you can show me what a strong woman you can be. I think we should slowly ready our belongings, as in any event we will have to move. Much love, Jaap.
My husband, caught by the Germans, I remember when they came to take us, I kicked his revolver under a chair. And they found it a revolver, of course. That is already enough to kill someone. I could hear in another room the way he was interrogated, with a lot of torture and a lot of shouting. The last words Philip and I have spoken together were just when we were arrested. The wardens took care that he could write on a very small piece of paper with a terrible pencil some words as a parting. He wrote, "You always have been my best comrade at my side." And that's what I cherish.
February 12, 1944. Sweet darling, this morning we received our notice that we will be transported to another camp. So we immediately started to pack. It's now the evening before my departure, which despite everything still came fairly unexpectedly. All I want to say is that my departure from here makes me very sad, and that's only for one reason. I hope that you will soon follow me. I cannot tell you how terribly I feel to leave you in this way, but nothing can be done. Dearest Ineke, this is not just a departure letter, only a wish for a very, very speedy coming together for us. Embraces and love. Jaap.
בך, כל הנחשלים אחריך, ואתה היפה יגע, ולא ירא אלוהים והיה.
One moment. I want to translate in English. Remember what Amalek did to you when you went out of Egypt. But you can translate that in today's life. Remember what Hitler did to us when we left Holland. What can you tell your children? Many times Ines told me, don't say too much to them because you frighten them. And sometimes, but on the other hand, if Holocaust survivors don't talk to their children, then the children ask themselves, what is behind that silence? Tisimech Elohim, Kesarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. Yvarcha Anoi Vishbericha, Yaernoi Panich Panich Vichaneka, Saanoi Panich Yasem Dachar Shalom. It starts really, that you shall be as not as the important men in Jewish life, as the important women in Jewish life.
See, there we go with the Star of David.
Margaret, did you talk to Sophie about what her grandparents went through or not yet?
I haven't really discussed the war so much with Sophie, but we're easing her into it.
Sophie is a very, very sensitive child. I think maybe give her nightmares or something, like it did you, which only I didn't know it. She told me that a few years ago.
I spent a lot of my childhood trying to figure out escape routes from our house. There were a million hiding places, and I still dream about the Nazis.
I think Margaret imagined a lot and dreamt about almost like being me, being there. Yeah. She had kind of put herself in my place, to the extent that when she was in college, like all the kids, she had eaten a lot of starches and stuff, and she had gained at least 10 pounds. She was so fat. And I said, you know, Margaret, eat a little less. Next education, when you come home, you know, lose some. And she did. And she did, and she did, and she did, till she became anorexic. And
that was an early case.
Then it lasted just about the exact same time, a year and a half, or almost 2 years that I was in camp. And in the end, I realized It's the exact same age also.
The odds of going to Bergen-Belsen instead of to Auschwitz were 9-1. 90,000 people left from Westerbork to Auschwitz, only 10,000 left to other camps. So the odds were unbelievable. Ina and I came together in Bergen-Belsen again.
When we arrived at the station, there was a man whom I knew. And I asked him, you know, very excitedly, how is it, and what is this camp like, and how are the people, and how's the food, you know, and all he did was, you know, calm me down. It's okay, it's not so bad.
May 20th, 1944. Ineke, my darling, now that you are here, it is as if I found peace of mind again. Everything here is much more difficult than in Westerbork, and you will find that a love life is completely non-existent. For the moment, I'm glad enough just to be a very close friend of yours. It is not my intention to go through life alone, and with Manja it will never work. I'm doing nasty work, digging under the supervision of the SS from 6 in the morning until 6 in the evening. I'm dead tired, but in good health. Though that won't last long. Try to be strong here. It won't be easy.
Dearest Jaap, the first bit of news from here. A complete nightmare. Last night with Josette in one bed on a board without a mattress. The sanitation is indescribable. I suspect you will be going to a disinfection bath one of these days. You will pass close to our fence, and that will be a real opportunity for us to talk for a moment.
I think of the people sitting at night, taking off their clothes and trying to kill the lice.
I just could not stand it. There was no way that you could keep anything clean. No women that I know of got their periods during the time that they were incarcerated. Then we went to Westerbork, it never came. It was in Bergen-Belsen, it never came. What the reason is, nobody seems to know. Nature, somebody up there taking care of us, because it would have been a terrible, terrible situation. Impossible.
The conditions in Bergen-Belsen became from bad to worse. First of all, the eating conditions became terrible.
We would get big, big kegs of soup. It was always turnip soup.
The Orthodox Jews, they refused to eat the soup because sometimes in the soup was a piece of horse meat. Now, to get a horse meat, you had to be unbelievably lucky. Sometimes people said, I got it.
There were a lot of fights, and it was very often about food.
The moment people died, people grabbed whatever they had. The blanket or the pillow, unless, of course, he had family. But people were sometimes alone, and then people would grab as fast as possible what you could get.
My dear little lady, they asked me at my table if I'm keeping a diary, and everybody asked me to write in it that they are hungry. I just tried to eat, but after 2 bites I was so nauseous. I had to throw away a whole camp bowl full of food, complete pig food.
Jaapje dear, I share your hunger problems. We're old and decrepit and so hungry that my sense of humor is dying.
They separated the people from the diamond industry from the others, and they gave us our own barrack. It was the only group of people that didn't work, so-called to save their hands. And once in the middle of the night, this guy opened the door. Everybody was sleeping. Achtung, you know, pay attention. I want Mr. So-and-so and so-and-so. Those were all the diamond manufacturers to come to the office and we'll have to discuss setting up a diamond industry. And then he yelled, "Can anybody take German shorthand?" And I and another woman both went, and we had to take minutes. I knew German shorthand, but I had never taken minutes. But one of my father's friends calmed me down and said, "I'll sit next to you and I'll tell you what you should write down." I would say that diamonds actually saved our lives.
Did you take anything with you in the camps? Because you gave me a brooch.
Did I have it before the war? Or
You
did
told
somebody...
me you had it in the camps with you when you gave
Yes,
it to me.
I
And
think so.
And I remember, like, I would keep it, you know, and then I'd say, "Oh, I can't have that near me because, you know," and then so I'd put it, lock it away,
Yes.
and then I'd take it out
I
again.
guess I took a pin to the camps. Did we know what was going to happen in the camps? You know, I took my rollers to the camps too and used them.
So
we
you-
didn't know what was happening in the camps.
Really? You curled your hair?
Well, I wore a page boy always.
Right.
So every night I put those 4 of those things in my
The
hair.
whole time?
The whole time I had a page boy.
Right.
And you could never wash your hair, so it might as well fall nice.
And plus you had a boyfriend.
Plus I had a boyfriend. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was so used to it. And I kept them and I used them.
I thought your obsession with your hair came later.
Oh, no. That's from way back. From way back.
Huh.
Sweet darling, just a few words by flashlight. There are now 220 people in our barrack. So for us it means being more careful. You and I might have to see somewhat less of each other in the near future. Last night, Manya saw us taking a walk, but she made only one sarcastic remark. "Nice weather for a walk," she said. But my dear Ineke, know well that for Jaap there's only one number 1. Do you believe me, Ineke? I really hope so.
I think I was number 1 in his heart, but in his daily life, he had to consider her first. Manya was sometimes very nice and didn't care, especially when she had her boyfriend, a doctor, that helped a lot. So then, you know, she had her own concerns and she left us alone.
My dearest little lady, I had a long talk with Manya. This morning, 2 parties informed her where and when we are meeting each other. I could really kill these stupid and tactless women. In fact, her too.
People talked, Jaap Polak and Ina Soep, they're an item, they're together.
When it looked in the eyes of others like she was the jilted wife, and then she didn't behave so nicely, and so that all the time it was, you know, I can see you, I cannot see you.
I had to apologize to Ina that I still, to the outside world, look like the loving husband of Manya.
My sweetest darling, you asked me if I'm angry at you for wanting to be so daring. You don't know how terrible I felt this afternoon when I pushed you away. And I understand completely if you tell me you cried after what happened. You asked me a few days ago how I would take it if your love for someone else turned out to be stronger than it is for me. We have to know that these risks do exist because of Rudy. I would take it as a man, and you should never make an eventual decision just to avoid bringing me pain. I'm writing with a pencil stub. One good thing is that since you've become a secretary, we will have no lack of paper and pencils. Darling, try to steal a pencil for me somewhere.
אני צחקתי קצת על זה. מה זה מכתבי אהבה כאלה בין אחד לשני, והוא היה מאוהב באינה, אני לא יודעת, זה היה יוצא מן הכלל. משהו, את יודעת, זה גם החזיק אותם בחיים לשניהם. מפני שהיה להם אחד לשני, היה להם משהו שהם חיו על זה.
My dearest Ineke, you cannot imagine how great it is for me after such a long day to have the knowledge that you are here, you think of me, that you love me, and at the end of the day I can see you even, if only for a short time. It gives me the courage I need to carry on. We will come through this, dearest Ineke, and then we can say that our will to survive was not in vain. Many, many good night kisses.
Dearest Jaap, just a sign of life from this camp where they leave us alone to rot like animals. The pessimists say that spotted typhus is breaking out in all the camps.
Remember, darling, be smart and don't get sick. I would have to violate all strict rules and set foot in Barrack 17. When I look back...
It's getting more difficult to keep in contact, but maybe today I will somehow find a way.
My Ineke, I'm not at all satisfied with our mail service, since I've had a letter waiting for you already since 2 p.m. Try to be here when the commando comes on duty, but make sure to avoid Manya when she leaves the roll call square. She's positively capable of telling your papa, and I think you too want to avoid that. So, my darling, I hope as you finish reading these few words, you will be in Morpheus' arms, though I would prefer to be in his place.
I had one of my camp sicknesses, typhoid attacks. It must have been at least 3-4 times while I was there. You can't eat. You have a very high fever, you're nauseous, and you can absolutely not eat anything. And it may last for 3-4 days. And then one morning you'd wake up, it was gone. And of course then you were ravenous. And my sister had saved all my bread. You know, had tiny little lockers. And she had saved the bread for that day she knew was coming. And when she had stolen it. It was not just from one day, it was like at least 3 days. So there was nothing for me. And she went around and asked if they could just spare a little bit of their portion. And the first one she went to was Manya, who right away said yes and gave a good piece of her bread for me. So that was one of the nicest things that happened.
Beautiful cards. Who wrote them? Very nice. Try the chair. Oh. That's good. Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei kol ha'ganaten. Amen.
Buttered matzo. Pay attention, it's a Magen David. It's a Star of David.
It's a what? It's a Star of David.
It's a lovely Star of David.
שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים חמץ ומצה.
חמץ ומצה.
הלילה הזה כולו מצה. הלילה הזה כולו מצה.
The rode vlekken. I did ask what happened while you were in the camps at Passover.
Well, we tried to do it as good as we could.
You didn't have the books.
Did anybody have a Haggadah in camp? In our camp?
In the camp, I think there must be...
There were many people
Don't
there
forget,
who knew
to
it by
the
heart,
concentration
the whole
camp,
thing.
we took all our possessions along.
Right.
Yeah, but
So
nobody
I'm sure,
traveled with a Haggadah.
I'm sure we had a Dutch Haggadah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had a Dutch Haggadah.
We tried to put the symbols of this, like a Seder dish, whatever there was. And I had a darning egg. Remember in the olden days we used to darn our socks? Not anymore. But, and I had it with me. So that was the egg, a wooden egg. So that's how we tried to keep our sanity, I guess.
My dearest sweetheart, this old man of yours is getting older. I had a very disturbing night. I didn't close my eyes at all, because of the lice, and also mainly because I itched all over, which is a side effect of my jaundice. I'm now seeing everything pessimistically. Let us hope that all these difficulties, which we will no doubt have to face in many forms, will be overcome by our love.
My always dearest love, sweetheart, in God's name, take care of yourself, so I don't have to worry about you. I want to see you again in good health. My thoughts are always with you. Kisses, Ina.
One day I exchanged a piece of clothes for a piece of bread. I said, I want to keep this bread for the last emergency if I really need it. And believe me, you need a tremendous amount of willpower to keep a piece of bread and not eat it. And then my sister got very sick and knew I had a piece of bread and asked me for a piece of bread. And I said no to her. Maybe it would have helped. I don't think so. Another good friend of mine, his son got very sick and asked me for a piece of bread. And I said no. And that good friend of mine, he made it and the son made it. And after the war, he didn't want to talk to me. For 1 year. After 1 year, he called me. And we were talking it out. And he more or less said, now after 1 year, although I blamed you at that time so terribly for not doing it, I still forgive you for that. Because it was just emotional.
I had a terrible, terrible toothache. And I was allowed to go into the adjacent camp, which was the women's camp. Huge women's camp, only women. Most of them had come from Auschwitz. It was also the camp where Anne Frank was. The women all looked terrible. They were all in the striped uniforms from Auschwitz, which, of course, we didn't have. And I saw the woman dentist. She was a Polish woman. And she had like a makeshift dental office there. So people, I don't think the Germans kind of set that up, but people tried themselves to help as much as possible. They had these huge carts, but instead of horses, they had people pulling the carts. And they were all filled up with dead bodies. They were barely bodies anymore. And I guess they were pulling them to the crematoria. And I saw heaps of lying, by the roadway. And I came back and I was just to our part. And I was just devastated.
How was it possible that our lives were taken away like this? How was it possible that the whole world really stood by and really didn't care? I know 11 million people were killed, not counting the soldiers, but nobody cared. I am not talking about individual people, I'm talking now about countries and governments.
60 million people died in the Second World War because we were not able to stop a crazy man.
They knew in England, Churchill knew, and the Pope knew. They all knew what was happening in Germany. I thought all these people would die. I never thought anyone would come back.
My dear little lady, I think that in my future life, if I make it, I will be able to value even the smallest things. What do you think about our being together in a quiet little house in the winter by a hearth after a delicious meal? I almost can't imagine that there will ever be such a happiness in store for us. So, sweet child, I'm going back to my barbed wire. These are only dreams of the future.
My sweet darling, yesterday we had a crazy and emotion-filled day. First, Uncle Hans' funeral. How terribly shameful it was. Without a casket, with rough couples throwing the body on a cart. I'm worried about my father. He has such a hard time. Why is it all taking so very long? And there are so many more victims. Soon there will be nothing left. Now, my darling, I am too depressed for anything nicer. Never say die. Ina.
You didn't talk about it much when we were little. I mean,
Nobody talked about anything.
I'm not accusing.
No,
It's not
no.
It's not.
If
It's
you
just.
had-
But I had to imagine from the little tiny bits and pieces I could put together what it must have been. Because until I got the courage to ask Dad about
But
it.
see, we didn't talk about it, not because we couldn't, because nobody did and nobody asked.
What about with your mother?
My mother did not like to talk about it because she lost her son. No, it was too emotional for her.
Although I
And
did.
my mo-
Did I
my-
tell you I once saw her talking to Benno on the photograph?
Really?
I'm sorry.
There you go. See, that's it. And my mother was, I mean, I don't usually like to show emotions, but she was even much worse or better at it. She never showed much emotion at all, ever. So so she never talked about it, and we never talked about it. What I remember of my father, his biggest sorrow was the loss of my brother. When they got notice that he died, he felt all of a sudden how powerless he was, that he could not even protect his own child. It was the tragedy of his life. My father wrote a poem after my brother died. Aan mijn Benno. Geslagen zitten wij te neder. Na deze grootste straf. Wij allen minden je zo teder en wenen aan je ons onbekende graf. Een zegen was voor ons je leven. Je goedheid stond steeds bovenaan. Als mens hoog aangeschreven, als Jood in trouwe onderdaan. Voor Nederland heb je gestreden en nu moest je zo ondergaan. Dat moest Gods oordeel wezen. Hoe is het anders te verstaan? In de armen van je opperwezen kan het je nu goed slechts gaan. Mogen rusten je mooie ziel, zo rein, tot wij ons bij je zullen bevinden. So that's it.
It's very difficult not to feel guilty that you survived. And you also have a feeling you never did enough to save other people. Philip is here in this very simple grave. Resistant workers, people who have lost their lives against the Germans, fighting them. I get emotional when I see the grave. So many people, my parents, my sister, they perished in flames. We don't even know where their ashes went. All the other family, there are no graves to visit.
I had all of a sudden this thought that it would be a good idea to exchange our letters back to each other, so that what I had written would be in my hands and what Jack had written would be in his. And my reasoning was that we had no idea what was going to happen to us. Would we stay there together? Would we be liberated together? Would he be sent away? Would I be sent away? Would one of us die?
She didn't want to have strangers see her love letters, which had a lot of sense. And after the war, we hope when we make it, we can give them to each other.
My dearest love, sag beim Abschied leise Servus. When you depart, quietly say goodbye. Yes, my Jaap. Now it is actually coming. Exactly when, we don't know yet. This morning I found my last 2 house lice dead in my sweater. I can't tell you how lucky I feel to be rid of them. With this letter, my dear, I'm also thinking so much about our coming home. Where, when will we find each other again, if at all? We may be in reality returning to the Netherlands. However, we may find it easier to go to America. If I go there with my family, how will our feelings withstand this distance? Above all, what will we do if you're not liberated at the same time as we are? Oh, my young man, everything is so vague.
My always dearest Ineke, it is indeed not out of the question that you will go to America. And Ineke, if you do end up there, I'm beginning to despair. I will be walking around Amsterdam with the sense that my one and only love lives in New York. And even though you wouldn't forget about me, I have an idea that you will meet men who are more interesting, who are better company, more charming than I am.
April 7th, 1945. My dearest Jaap, last night at 8 p.m. we were called for transport and had to be ready in 2 hours. But we are still here. I fervently hope that I will see your darling Merk once more before we leave. I don't want to say goodbye again to you. Just see you soon. 1,000 kisses. Ina.
I write at least 3 or 4 letters. This is the last letter. It was always uncertainty till the last minute.
What we went through after our transport out of Bergen-Belsen cannot be described. Our whole transport suffered a very bad spotted typhus epidemic after we left. I myself was on the verge of death for 2 days, but pulled through. Same with Manja.
I mostly recall digging graves, schlepping the dead body from the cattle car into the grave and saying the Kaddish. I remember on April 23, 1945, seeing Russian uniforms, and I said, this is it. I went with a group of people to get food. Then I felt suddenly very weak. Then I got into a coma. I came out of the coma on April 25. All I know is in 2 days, my weight was down to 70 pounds. Whenever really I say that prayer, I think about the people I buried. Prayers are quite difficult for me, basically, because how many times can you say how great God is? And then I have to think about all the horrible things that happened to my parents and to my whole family, and think, on the other hand, I owe God, He let me survive the Holocaust.
We finally rode into the front line, and we couldn't go any further. And all of a sudden I see these big, burly, tanned guys coming over the hill in the uniform with the helmet. They had no idea who we were. They were totally flabbergasted. They had no idea what a concentration camp was. They had never heard of it. And when they smiled, they all had these fabulous white, straight teeth, and some crazy thought came in my mind, and I thought, well, they must have all seen the same orthodontist. And they right away took over. And as I was being lifted by these burly Americans on the truck, the bottom of my rucksack fell out. And then I vividly remember me looking at the letters and thinking, how can I take them? And I left them. The usual pictures.
Yeah.
Don't get emotional. Zie ik er oké uit? Zie ik er goed uit? Ja?
I'm Jack Pollack. I'm a survivor of Westerbork and concentration camp Bergen-Belsen, and being liberated by the Russian army. I'm accompanied with my wife Ina, who was with me in the camps, and with whom I'm going to celebrate this weekend our 60th anniversary. Let me just read to you from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Articles 18 and 19. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom, either alone or in community with others and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship and observance.
Thank you, Mr. Pollack, and Mr. and Mrs. Pollack, all the very best for this very special anniversary next week.
Thank you.
It's wonderful.
It's really an unbelievable event. Stand in the United Nations and thinking about all the people who didn't make it. But also the fact that I am alive and am able to give testimony to it.
Today is one of Thanksgiving the world over. In Holland, there is real cause to cheer. The capitulation of Germany has literally saved thousands from death by starvation. Their Canadian liberators are feted, and ceremonies of thanks are held for deliverance.
The war had ended, and everybody tried to find out who has survived. I went to the Red Cross, I put advertisements in papers.
I had no idea that Jaap is alive And when I was back in Holland, I had no idea if I would see him again. And he didn't know what had happened to my train.
The meeting point was Amsterdam. I had given her the name of my sister Betty, who I knew was in underground. I didn't know if she was still alive. But basically for 2 months, Ina had no knowledge that I had made it.
One day I heard transports had arrived in the south of the Netherlands. But it was still very difficult to travel. So I lent a uniform of a nurse. I had a niece who was a nurse. I said, if I go as a nurse, nothing can happen. And I hitchhiked with a big American truck, and we were on our road to Eindhoven when we were stopped because a terrible accident had passed and they saw there was a nurse there. Please come along immediately. And I don't know anything about nursing, never. So I came there and I said, this is too serious. Immediately let the doctors come. I shouldn't touch those. I shouldn't touch those. And off I went with the truck. They let me in, and I saw a long line of skeletons. And I looked, and I couldn't recognize anyone. But someone was calling my name. Betty, it's you, Betty. And I looked, and I saw my brother. And I saw a nephew. And I hardly dared to embrace them. I was afraid they would crack down. But that's where we met.
My dearest Ineke, what do you say about my luck? My sister Betty just came to visit me. She will hand you this little letter tomorrow. She will tell you everything. How happy I was to hear that all of you were alive, you can well imagine. Before anything else, Ina, everything is still as it was before. I hope it is with you too. I hope that we will soon talk about everything in peace. How I long for that at last. In my thoughts I embrace you and kiss you. Jaap.
My dearest Jaap, what a surprise this morning. The beautiful roses and fine letter. I can find no words to express how happy I am that you are at reachable distance from me. I was beginning to panic that I still hadn't heard anything as information about several others began to trickle in. I'm very excited and nervous and almost can't wait to see you in real life and be able to embrace you. We all feel so terribly sad about the dreadful numbers of those who died. But then, I'm thankful that you pulled through.
And I was see myself walking from the streetcar to that house where Ina was.
We stood in front of the window waiting for him to come. And here comes this man in the most god-awful coat which he had gotten from the Red Cross.
I heard him breath like this, and I thought, oh, such a shabby old man. Nothing for Ina, but he looked so dreadful. He was so thin, and he looked so pale. Daar komt hij aan.
Daar komt hij aan. May I introduce myself? I'm Japuna. Right. She's still crying from 60 years ago. And we stood there and saw you coming, and we thought you looked about as old then when you were 32, or as you look today.
Ja, net zo oud. Eigenlijk is het het beginning van mijn leven.
Yeah, well, it was.
Ja.
And now it's 60 years later. A little more, 60 and a half years later.
En bijna het einde van mijn leven.
No, come on. We can all say that.
Yeah, I know.
And then he had to get a divorce.
The same rabbi who did our wedding, who was a friend of mine, did get a Jewish divorce.
The wife is supposed to spit on the husband or the spit?
What?
Who is supposed to spit?
That I think people told that, Manja always told that, get is okay, but I'm not going to spit. I said, Manja, but you have to be there while the get is written by the rabbi.
He said, how long does it take? So I said, I will ask him to do it fast.
I had always claimed that I would never marry an accountant because they're the dullest people in the world. So here I ended up as a man who was 10 years older, bald, and an accountant.
Ik vind de suiker veel lekkerder.
No.
Dan neem je de suiker en de zoetjes.
No, je weet helemaal niet wat ik je geef tegenwoordig.
Can I ask you, when is the first time you had sex?
Oh, well, like every good Dutch Jewish girl and any good girl at that age, the night we got married. I mean, the real sex. I mean, there was a lot of going on before, but you know, real not till then. It just wasn't done.
I had to wait a long time for it.
But there are always a lot of substitute, as you well know, for young kids, if they really want to. But he would once in a while, when we had the lights out already and he would come back late from camp, he would kind of feel his way into the barrack to my bed and would say good night. I mean, then he probably would kiss me because it was pitch dark.
And now?
Ask his cardiologist, who gets such a kick out of Jack. Every time he's been sick, he asks when he can have sex again.
Yeah.
And now he was so stunned, but he was so intrigued that now every time he goes, do you have
sex? So I said yes. And you say he was very pleased.
There's hope.
Thursday, October 12, 1944. My dearest darling, if we both deal with the knowledge that these few days too will pass, then the best that could happen would be that these few days will improve our archives. And in 26 years, when we are
celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary, they will write and perform a great review about our lives. Am I not an optimist?
And tell us that she's still beautiful.
Being married to Jack hasn't brought one single dull moment yet. He gave me 60 years of happiness, harmony, and unconditional love. It all started on 1/29/46, and we lived happily ever after. Dankeschön.
Ja, je hebt het gesprek met veel begonnen.
Ja, zij was in de studio en they had het pre-record.
Oh ja. Let's get organized now.
Let's go get it.
I don't know how to get organized.
More beautiful than ever.
Ich habe es bei Tag den Blumen erzählt, ich liebe dich. Ich habe es bei Nacht den Sternen erzählt, ich liebe dich. Ich singe es hinaus in der Welt, dass einer mir nur noch gefällt. Das bist du, nur du.
Mm.